Welcome to the Heroic Voice. I am here on Flag Day, June 14th, with Rob Jones, who has kindly agreed, at least in principle, to become the sort of semi-regular artist for the Liberty Girl. Um, this is the Heroic Voice, where I talk to comic book creators and other interesting people on a variety of subjects. I am Dennis Maloney, publisher of the Heroic Multiverse, where we feature good girl and bad girl artwork, super babes, and all kinds of Silver Agey style stories. And I'm reminded, just so people know, we just today on Flag Day received copies of issue number 6. We actually have them in hand now. Um, Rob has done a couple of Liberty Girl pieces in the past. He did the cover for this issue, along with the story that appears herein. Um, and he did a cover for which issue was there was Liberty Comics number 7, which you got some more of, which should be arriving shortly. I haven't received word that they've shipped yet,
Okay.
but you should have them, I would think, within a week or so. Um,
Great, great, very
Rob,
cool.
it's good to see you. I don't believe we've ever met sort of face-ish to face-ish before.
No, we haven't. A couple of very brief phone calls, but it's nice to put a face to a name, right?
No, likewise, yes, absolutely it is. So do the people who are listening to this a favor and tell us about yourself. Let's start with that.
Sure. My name's Rob. I live in Pittsburgh. I've been working in comics on and off for the last 20 years or so. I was Dick Giordano's last art assistant. I worked with him for about 7 years. With him, we did a bunch of stories for DC and Marvel and a bunch of independent books, including a bunch of heroic books.
Mhm.
He was the regular artist on Tigress for a while. And with him, I was able to work on backgrounds for that. I was doing some small figure work by the end. So yeah, I've been been kicking the can around for about 20 years.
And you did a very workmanlike job finishing Dick's last Tiger story.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it
Yes,
was a lot of
it was
fun.
nicely done.
Thank you.
I was glad finally to be able to get that into print. You know, Dick had been so kind to us and
Hmm.
really was into the Tigress as a character. He really loved that character. So I was
Yes.
glad to finally be able to get that into print. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought that turned out pretty well. Yeah. I remember him the very first page, they're in a jewelry store, and I remember him going through his stack of comics from when he was a kid because he was referencing one that he remembered from 60 years ago. And he was like, "Oh yes, this is the one." And he pulled out the book and was like, "Yeah, it was referencing I can't tell you the title or anything, but he had a great shot in mind that came from this book from when he was a kid."
Oh, wow. And you can't remember what book it was, huh?
No, unfortunately,
Mm.
no. It's probably
Um,
one of those crime doesn't pay stories.
hmm, I wish I knew.
Yeah.
Okay. So your first experience with the Liberty Girl,
Mhm.
uh, that was that was a Golden Age story, was it not?
Yes, written by Mike Barr, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I got that one because I had forced that cover on you. I had just sent a sketch by that I had done just for fun, and
The one
I
with
I had
the
sent it to
Statue
you.
of Liberty Girl that I just showed a few moments ago.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Mike had an interesting story. I mean, it was I'm opening the book right now
Yes.
so I can get to the splash page. Liberty Girl and the Japanese Demon. Right?
Yes.
It's that
Oh
one.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Mike W. Barr and Rob Jones. Uh, yeah, that was Mike's only Liberty Girl story.
Oh,
Um,
really? Oh
yeah.
wow.
But what I was doing then was I was, asking people that I knew in the industry if they'd like to take a crack at the Liberty Girl, who was at that point, a new character. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So we had Mike, we had Roy Thomas, we had a few other people do some Liberty Girl stories. Oh my, I'm so terrible with names.
Mhm.
Anyway, we had quite a few stories, and
Yeah.
they were good. I mean, Liberty Girl is a great character. Um, and
Yes.
I would like you to, if you would, share your impression of the character. I've already spoken, a couple of weeks ago about the Liberty Girl from my point of view.
Mhm.
What's your take on the character specifically?
Well, my take on the character is actually uh somewhat convoluted because I actually based my visuals on a friend of mine from Florida. So to me, that's what Liberty Girl looks like, and that's what she also stands for. As my friend was very uh, uh, upright and fought for good and was just a very good person. So it's fun to have that connection to the character that it's like and I have hundreds of reference photos now too.
Well,
So
you are not alone in this. The original Liberty Girl reference that Mark Sparacio used was
Mhm.
a friend of his.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, so taking the Liberty Girl from life is not at all unusual.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
so, and she's meant to be a real person, so I think that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
she's not supposed to be, well, aside from the fact that she's the daughter of somebody famous, right? She's supposed to be a straightforward, upright, American patriotic girl.
Yeah.
That's who she is, and that's what she represents.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
actually going to get into that a little bit. I want to. I wasn't actually thinking of this, but let's talk about Liberty Girl number 7. All right, that's
Yep.
where you're going to be taking over, and
Hmm.
you already have the script for that.
Hmm.
It's an anthology kind of book where you're going to be doing what's essentially the framing sequences around a series of tales that are being told around a campfire on the Liberty Girls Ranch by Flair, the G Girl, Sparkplug, and Liberty Girl herself.
Hmm.
Um, the Black Enchantress is there in the beginning 8-page sequence, but that's a bridge from Liberty Girl number 6 into Liberty Girl number 7. After that initial 8-page sequence, we go right into the campfire after an
Hmm.
encounter with somebody.
Yes. Yes. The Cactus Man.
Yes, the
The,
Cactus
the
Man.
Cactus Man. Actually, I have a little bit of a surprise for you.
Oh,
I
yeah?
just finished the first page, or page 9, actually. So I did a little printout of it. So you can
Ah,
see
there they are.
there they are.
The G
It's
Girl and the Liberty Girl riding
and the
horses.
Cactus Man.
And there he is.
Yes. Yes. So
Ah,
it's all done digitally, but I printed it out so we could have the visual for today.
thank you for that. The Cactus Man, for those who don't know, is the embodiment of the Sonora Desert.
Mhm.
He is the protector of the natural environment of northern Mexico, Arizona, parts of Arizona, and New Mexico. And he has for some time been concerned about the changes that are taking place in his natural environment. And he expresses that occasionally to the Liberty Girl, who says, "Yeah, sorry, things change." And you know, anyway, there's a there's a nice sequence with the Cactus Man meeting the G Girl for the first time, and then we go to the campfire, and there are those pieces have been done. The stories have actually been done. There's a sequence that Tim Burgard did where the Liberty Girl goes back to 1953, 52, 53 thereabouts, meets Fidel Castro uh, in Mexico. Um, then there's a sequence where the G Girl tells, these are scary stories, by the way. Um,
Yes.
and that there's a reason that Fidel Castro sequence turns out to be very scary with the Liberty Girl, although the G Girl doesn't see why it's scary. But anyway, then she tells about a really scary story where she had an encounter with her mother. Mothers are scary. And then Sparkplug tells a story that flashes back to that time when she was going to college at Caltech, when she'd been de-aged and then grew up again into a teenager and has a fight with Demon Fire with Icicle sort of there on the periphery. And then what I'm going to get to is the story that reflects the Liberty Girl. Flair doesn't tell a scary story about herself. Flair is going to tell the origin of the Liberty Girl's costumed identity, right? Which takes place, and this was plotted long before the Captain America movie, right? And I
Oh
discussed
wow.
this with Mark Sparcio. But the Liberty Girl got her name as the Liberty Girl because she wanted to figure out what she could do with these new powers that she had. So she went to her dad, and he said, the best thing you can do is not expose yourself. Do not let people know that you have powers. If you want to do something useful, start selling Liberty bonds.
Hmm.
Right. So she said, okay, I could do that. So anyway, she had the costume designed. She became the Liberty Girl, and she started going on tour, selling Liberty bonds. Liberty Girl says, buy Liberty bonds, support America. There's war in Europe. We need to be ready. Yay, yay, yay. Right. And anyway, one of her father's enemies figured out who she was. And this is the story you're going to be writing, you're drawing rather, takes a shot at her. Bang, while she's on stage. She actually gets shot. And this really pisses her off. So, up she goes, flying, wham, right? And oh, I maybe I shouldn't have done that because now everybody knows that the Liberty Girl actually has superpowers, right? And that is in fact the origin of her superhero identity, which you are going to be having the privilege of drawing.
I'm just so excited. I cannot wait. It's fantastic.
Oh, all righty. So um, after that, this is all getting to know each other, right? That's what this story is all about. And I think I discussed this with you because Flair and the G Girl have invited Liberty Girl to come with them on a USO tour to Korea. Right? And as the Liberty Girl says, because they say, we're going to go on a mission, we're going to go on a USO tour to Korea and entertain the troops. And Liberty Girl says, that's not a mission, that's a cover story. Right? And it is, in fact, a cover story because there's a reason they're going to Korea. It has to do with the G Girl's long kidnapped, missing mother. They have a lead and they need to go to Korea to follow up that lead, but they want to do it in such a way that it's not obvious that that's the reason they're there. So, anyway, that will be in Liberty, actually, Sensational G Girl number 9, the mission to Korea with the G Girl, Flair, and the Liberty Girl in Korea taking on Madame Destiny and the jerk who stole the G Girl's giant powers from her. So
Oh, that's awesome. That
that's
is
that's what's
awesome.
coming up. So let me ask you, I asked you for your take on the Liberty Girl. Let me ask you about Flair and the G Girl. How familiar are you with them?
Uh, Rather familiar with Flair. I've drawn a couple of Flair stories, so rather familiar. Not quite as familiar with G Girl, but getting to know her through the this storytelling of the campfire. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. All right, you want to talk about Dickie?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's do that then. You were his assistant for 7 years, full
7 years. Yeah.
apprenticeship. 7 years, that's a full apprenticeship.
Yes. 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 Definitely. Yeah.
So tell us about him. I knew Dick, but I didn't know him well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Well,
I loved him. I mean, he was great.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. He was wonderful. He started as an art hero of mine and then became just a hero of mine. It's just a wonderful man. He I didn't have a father growing up, and then he took over that role, as a father and a grandfather because he's quite older than I was at the time. Not so much anymore, but quite older than I was at the time.
Well, you're about as old now as Dick was when I first met him. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
When did you first meet him?
Oh, Lord, he was late 80s.
Late 80s. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very
Yeah.
cool.
But so grandfatherly, fatherly.
Yes, yes. It started as an art apprenticeship and then just became a friendship. And as he got, as he got sicker, it was a lot of driving to doctor's appointments and just BSing while we were on our way and just having a great friendship, a great camaraderie. And he taught me so much. He taught me I went to him wanting to be an inker and I wound up doing pencils. I went, I was like, okay, I can do some pencils now. He's like, great. Okay. Now you can color this book. Well, I've never colored anything before. Okay. So here's how you color, he would show me with Prismacolors, what he wanted done. And then I would have to do it on the computer. And then I worked with a letterer on one of my projects and I learned how to letter from that. And so I was lettering and coloring all of his independent books. Whenever they wanted an art team, he would be like, "I got this. Don't worry." And so we wound up doing all of these projects. Were just in house. It was like the old continuity days. It was fantastic.
Is there any personal story that you would like to share that you would even feel comfortable sharing?
Oh, sure, sure. When you met Dick, how bad was his hearing?
He could hear pretty well back then,
Okay,
as far as I can
okay.
tell.
Yeah, he was deaf as a post by the time I met him, and I didn't know that. So at the very first convention that I saw him at, I saw, oh my God, that's Dick Giordano. Um, so I did like a couple laps around the convention center to get some nerve up, and then I went up and I practiced the speech in my head, and I went over and I put my portfolio down, and I was like, Mr. Giordano, you're such an influence on me. It's just I've never, it's just your name was on every book I've ever read, and this, that, and the other thing. And I went on for a while, and then he just looked up at me and just went, "Huh?" And so Patty, his financial assistant, kind of like gives him the elbow, and it's like, he says he likes your work.
Oh, she
So
was
yeah,
great too. I remember Patty. Yeah.
oh yeah, Patty's wonderful. Patty's absolutely wonderful. Yeah. So yeah, we all three of us worked in the studio together. So it was great times, and she was,
Bastion.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The only book she ever edited on staff at DC was Cinder and Ash, which was just a phenomenal book if you remember that one.
I do
Uh,
know. I'm sad to say.
oh, it's Jose Garcia Lopez and Jerry Conway.
Ah,
Yeah, and
Conway.
they it's a spy story with a Filipino lead and um, or Vietnamese lead because he brought her back from Vietnam. And oh, it's so great. It's so great. It's such a great story. They optioned it for movies multiple times and just never
Never
got
had it
to
been.
the
Yeah.
that next stage. But yeah, the only book she ever edited on staff was that, and it was like, wow, you did pretty well.
What was, if you remember, what was the very first thing that you did with Dick?
The very first thing I did with Dick was, oh well, actually, the end of that story was I showed him my work, and he said it didn't suck,
Yeah.
and so he said, do new pages and bring it to my house. So I brought him new pages like a couple of weeks later, and he says, okay, these don't suck either. Here's the Phantom. And so I just went from, trying to break into comics, to I was in. And yeah, so I wound up doing backgrounds and some figure work on the Phantom for Egmont in Sweden.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Dick must have been, what's the word? not impressed, but confident in your ability given what you showed him, right? Because you
He
can be
gave me the
impressed, but still not be willing to give somebody any work.
he gave me the best advice I ever got on day one. It was do the backgrounds, do whatever you're comfortable with. Whatever you're not comfortable with, I'll show you how to do. And whatever you screw up, I can fix.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay. It was carte blanche to do whatever I wanted to do to these pages. And it was
How were you with hands?
I would take photos for hands. I still do. I take photos for hands, so I know that I'm getting hands right. Yeah.
Yeah. Bob Kane could not draw hands.
Yep.
Yeah. Uh,
There were lots of things he couldn't draw.
well, yeah. Yeah. This is true. Right. There's a story. Oh gosh, who told me this story? It wasn't Julie, but there was a time, I think it was on one of the Heroic Voice interviews, where Bob was in the office and Julie wanted a panel fixed. And he gave it to Bob to fix. And Bob, it had a hand in it. and Bob just couldn't get it. He
Oh
eventually
wow.
he eventually went to Murphy Anderson and offered to pay Murphy to fix the hand for him, which
Oh
Murphy,
wow.
okay, sure, fixed it, took it, took it to Julie. So,
Oh wow, that's awesome.
so
That's awesome. I
anyway,
remember Dick told me a great story about, I don't remember who the artist was, but he brought in some pages to a notoriously difficult editor. And I can't remember who the editor was at the time either.
better not to name him in any event.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So he said, what you need to do is put in a lightning rod, which is something that is so glaringly wrong that you can't help but take it out because this editor will take out something, and so you might as well make it something easy. So color the whole purple, just something that you can easily fix. So they're like sitting around talking about what they should do with this panel, and they're like, okay, why don't you put a lot of hair on the arm of the lady in the foreground? So you can just wipe that out. It's no problem. So he's like, yeah, that's a great idea. Puts all this hair on the arm. And then he goes in and shows the work to the editor. And the editor says, this is great. Thanks so much. And so he's like, okay, that all right, sure. So he leaves to get his invoice, and the secretary had really hairy arms. So they're like, okay, we see where this is at.
That's great. Oh, I love that story.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Um,
Yeah, Dick had a ton of stories. He just, I mean, he was around forever. So he did when he was working as a an apprentice at the Iger studio, he was the guy who would bring it down to the comics code, and because he could make any corrections on the fly.
mhm.
So there was one story that he told me where they said, okay, these pages are fine, but this woman's bust is too large. You're going to have to reduce the size of her bust. So he goes and he whites it out and he draws it smaller and brings it back and like, nope, nope, still too large. So he whites it out, makes it smaller, comes back. They're like, no, it's still too large. So he just took a ruler and just there. How about that? Yeah, that's fine.
Oh my goodness. Mm. Do you
Yeah.
have any favorite projects that you worked on with Dick? Any particularly favorite ones?
Um, my favorite project was actually he had finished up, or we were going to finish up the Dracula adaptation that they had
Yeah.
started in the 70s.
Hmm.
And when I was in college, art school, I couldn't get the hang of markers to save my life. I just couldn't do it. I don't know why. I just had this mental block with markers. I couldn't do it. So then I go to Dick's house. He says, "All right, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna finish this. It's 200 and something pages, and it's all pen and ink and marker." I'm
And
like,
it's
"Oh
Roy
no!"
Thomas.
Yeah,
So
with Roy Thomas.
leave room for dialogue.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yes. So yeah, so he says to me, have you ever used markers before? And I just said no. It's just nope, no, never successfully. So then he takes one of the boards, flipped it over, and just says, okay, you do this and you do that, and that's how you use markers. And it just like totally clicked the way that he showed me how to do it. None of my art teachers could teach me this, but he did it like that. It was incredible. So yeah, it was fantastic. And by the end, I was doing all the markers. So again, just
Well, there were a lot of blacks in that story.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And did they ever print that in color? It was black and white originally.
Yes, it was black and white originally, and then we did it in black and white, and then they did a reprint of it in color a couple of years later. I think it was already after he had passed, so I want to say
Hmm.
2010 maybe they did it in color. Um, but yeah, it never really sold much, so
No, but it was
unfortunately, that
something
was
that
the end
both
of
Dick
that.
and Roy wanted to finish.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, and it had been what, 30 years, almost 30 years since
yeah.
they'd originally done it for one of the Marvel black and white magazines.
Yes, yeah, yeah, and it was so great because he still had a bunch of those old pages that were done magazine size, so they're
Yeah,
just gigantic, and the detail that he got in those pages, and he was, only brush, and to do these fine lines with just brush, it was like, how on earth? I was using microns at the time, and I was like, I can't get a thin enough line to do that, and he was doing it with
but
a brush.
as I understand it, it takes a lot of experience to be able to, feather, those
Oh yeah,
brushes so that, you get that fine line. Um,
yes, yeah.
there are pens that Mark Beecham uses. Not pens, they're like little plastic, they're not hair brushes, they're little plastic brushes that you can do a thick or a fine line on. And I've seen him do that.
Oh
He's
wow.
got a wonderful technique when
Oh,
using that.
fantastic. His work is so beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He actually did a Liberty Girl story that takes place in World War II. That
Oh,
would have
wow.
been Anthem number 5, I think.
I
That
believe I have a PDF of that. I'll have to check it out. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but the Liberty Girl only appears in a cameo appearance. It's really about a Bowery Street boy in Brooklyn who, deals with one of the Liberty Girl's enemies, the
Oh, wow.
Hand. Right. So anyway, we're back to the Liberty Girl. Um,
Works out well.
yeah. Okay. What have I missed here? What would you like to talk about?
Oh, wow.
Open season, whatever you want.
Open season. Yeah. I don't know. Wow. That's it's such a loaded question, It's
Yeah.
uh, I was talking to Brian Stelfreeze about convention sketches, and he said, I'm an assassin. If you give me an assignment, I can kill it. But if you tell me just draw something, I totally space out because the options are too too vast.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's the same way with that question. It's like, oh no, I don't know what to don't know what to talk about.
Let's rephrase.
Yeah.
Did you have anything in mind coming into this that you really wanted to talk about?
Just how, to be honest, just how excited I am. I hope it came across in the emails that, and when you originally had pitched the idea to me of working on Liberty Girl, I just so excited and cannot be more thrilled and honored to do so. Like you've mentioned, all the artists that have worked on it already, it's just fantastic. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, let me pin that down a little bit. I mean, you've mentioned in general, Liberty, why you like the Liberty Girl.
Mhm.
What is there in particular that speaks to you about the character?
Um, to me, it's the I'm trying to think of the word go-getitiveness. Or I'll just make up my own, I guess. It's
Well, some people use the phrase "no nonsense," which I
yes,
think you're trying to talk about.
yes, no nonsense. There's good, there's evil, and we will vanquish evil. I just think that that's such a great archetype to be playing with, to explore. Um, yeah, it's yeah. Plus, it's just a cute girl to draw.
Oh yeah.
Can't beat
The,
that.
the costume, so you know, was designed with some guidelines that I
Mhm.
provided to Derek Gross Sr. I told Derek that I wanted the shield, right? Basically, the American shield on it, and the puffy sleeves, the skin tight leggings. And we had been thinking of pitching a revival of Miss America to Marvel, right? But for whatever reason, Marvel was not interested. But I wanted to do this character, right? So, what could we do that speaks America that makes her different from Marvel's character? And the idea came to me that aside from the shield, her costume should be gold. Because what's more American than gold?
Yes. Yes.
And to go with the notion that, you know, she's bronze skinned, right? And the funniest thing about that was we had a poster of the Liberty Girl, you know, standing there, arms akimbo, right, right. And a little girl came up and said, "Mommy, that girl's naked," you know, because the gold, right, she saw as because of the bronze face.
Yeah.
So anyway, the mom and I got a big laugh out of that. That was a funny and obviously memorable moment since I remember it.
Yes. Yes. That's awesome. That is awesome.
So, oh my. Let's let people know where they can follow you. I assume you have some sort of social media presence and
Sure.
keep abreast of whatever your projects might be.
Yeah. Yeah. My Instagram is called Perfect Storm Publishing. My website is Perfect Storm Publishing. It's the vanity press that I use for my own uh, comics. I'm working on a series called Kate Carter Adventures. That's my main muse right now is working on that, or it was up until today.
Well, as I said, I mean, there's no rush on this. Right?
Yeah,
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 take your time, do whatever else you need to do, you know, and you know, as you have time, you know, proceed. So,
yes, very cool, very cool.
okay,
Yeah, it's just the
so
excitement.
tell us
Coming.
about Kate Carter.
Kate Carter is a stunt woman who, growing up, had her choice between being a stunt woman or being an archaeologist, and she went with stunt woman. And then she always enjoyed archaeology and things like that, the Indiana Jones type movies. So we call them the cliffhanger movies in the book, based on that old Al Williamson strip from the 80s. So her favorite archaeologist shows up to be a consultant on a movie, and they wind up becoming friends and going
Oh,
off on an adventure together.
oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it's been a
Uh,
lot of fun. I'm up to issue 6 right now.
and where can people acquire the 5 existing issues?
Well, I'll have a Kickstarter running in July, and all those issues will be up on that. So you can find it on kickstarter.com/Rob Jones Art slash Perfect Storm Publishing. I'll send you a link when it's all ready.
You need to write a poem, Kate Carter Kickstarter.
Yes. Yes. I didn't
So
put that together until
work
now.
on that.
Yes, definitely.
Well, that's the writer in me going at it.
Yeah.
All right. All righty. Rob, let's wrap this up with my thanks to you for being here. Um, People can watch the Liberty Girl project develop on the Heroic Publishing website. Right? As we get pages in, we will post them up there for people to see. If you want to send me a link to your, if you have a homepage, a web page somewhere, or just to the Instagram. I'll put that up there so that people can jump over to where you are.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
yeah. And any last thoughts here?
I'm just so excited to be working with you on this again. It's you were, if not the first, one of the first freelance clients I had. So, it's just that again, comes back to Dick saying, "Hey, just send him some stuff. We'll see what happens."
All right.
And 20 years later, we're still kicking.
Well, thank you. Glad to have you. And I wish you a very good Flag Day weekend.
Yes, thank you so much. Same to you.
Alrighty.